Yeah, that's going to be a player on solid. So it's not like VR we call it headsets. Environment you can still see that. It's like
right now, nobody needs them.
My producer.
Yes. Yeah. I'm working with there's a team of 3 of us who are building a story on real-time webs. Yeah. So it seems like a way for it to be catching. So building some I'm doing 2 projects on this base now, but the NDA is not released until the end of the year.
All the commercial, all the medical.
I guess you're almost everywhere.
It's going to be everywhere eventually, yeah.
It's like cardboard. But, you know, yeah, totally. And sometimes there's like functionality with it, you have to go there, and that works great. Wherever you are. That's solid right there. That's like hardcore.
Yeah, strong neck. Maybe after I'll go show you a little bit of models.
I would love to see that cool. He's not the leader.
Yeah, so it's kind of nice. You're creative, so break down.
He's still in the spot?
Yep, still in the spot.
That's a cool town. That's a cool town.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, we all live there as well.
Yeah. So how did you hit
It's got a lot of problems.
Okay. Yeah.
One of the things they keep doing is
For promotional
releasing new versions and then doing a coding here where they change some of the functionality. It's inconsistent. They use the versions that we're using currently.
The whole course, so like another device, there's so many layers.
Buggy as well. It's a crash. Especially when you start trying to do something real.
So my goal is I have to hire this I literally headsets of us that college. You can get all this do it pictures. So I've been really they have
I've seen something they have a lot of that real time.
They go free, personal, and enterprise. So you can do what they need. But it's a job that's not really working. Then all that you get just filing that fix on their system. No app to download. There's no he makes a reflection to the end.
So it's just download time.
So with you, yeah, I'll start pushing it on my email. But you start and then
So all that's left is just to do a cleanup to get your audio synced up, just to make sure. It's been good almost every single time. So.
Well, yeah. So originally I was doing the Raffle because I didn't know about the right way to do syncing from here, and I didn't have the one recorder. I didn't have the live recording. So as long as I have a recording, as long as you've got audio coming through here and I've got audio values, I can sync up with that with some analysis stuff. So I don't get problems.
Perfect. Good to build it.
Just told me I got guys can call it.
No, I think you can just hear it from the mic over there.
So basically, I have a bunch of applications. College studio. So my team basically kind of went through all of the apps and made sure that my audio was par and basically we provided live spatial audio power up
Pleasure to meet you and connect with you online.
Yeah, so I am I usually use just the term audio engineer, but basically halfway between
I sort of do my degrees in animation, but so I sort of
It's going.
Surprisingly okay.
Yeah.
This one is
Do that tight ship.
this one's a bit more sure. Plus, starting from right now.
I did see the update, so
A lot of holes in different directions. So getting these things together. So,
how did that come together? You happy with it? Jay
Beaver?
Yeah.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, talking to
Perfect. Okay. How long is that going to run?
5 months for now.
Okay, cool. Well, that's good because in about 5 months I may have some serious stuff popping up. I had a conversation down in San Francisco.
And I start looking into every time I just stop that block where I'm just like, it's just so much more frustrating than I think it should be.
Well, you know, I have been doing it for a while now, and I still feel like we're playing.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's not the development stuff that's hard. It's always the creative, like the initial design. And I think that's like for anyone who's doing design. It's like there's often like as you're playing, you feel like, man, I should get around that. So it's just a matter of whether or not that's something you want to put up with. I mean, sometimes I just feel like I feel like getting it down. It's knowledge of like, fast, it gets me over and over.
Well, that's most of the other time, like, I basically make a link, and then so then going to websites,
Well, you have to, I say on a Mac.
justifying something time of doing something, and they're so good at that. Well,
For me, it's totally like, there are so many things I would love to learn and mess with. So it's kind of a big confusing. It's really, I'm sure, well, obviously, it's developing technology. Even the web is changing so much. It's fun to be, constantly learning, experimenting, creating.
it is super interesting. I love the meetings like last year. VR, they disproportionate. I feel like that's here. It's really cool. It feels like
it's pretty neat that that's the case. And I'm totally new to the topic. Like, honestly, I think about a gap ago, I tried Google Park for the first time, and I was like, my first name. So, like, I was here in the last week I was over here, and Percy talked a lot about it. So this is like, for me, it's just sort of like, learning what it's all about. And it's really neat. I'm glad to be in a location where, like, I can come to something like this and get I still have them. I got stuff I but yeah, you're totally right. At this point, I think so we'll grab that all for reinforcement. So to be able to
Do you want to sell me?
Obviously, like I said, I'm totally beginner level. It kind of feels like the next big step is going to be bringing in the consumer. I feel like a lot of people are excited about it. Obviously, like still all a little bit of people saying I feel it's something that I'm first starting, so I'm just going to like basically my version of Unity. They have VR, so far I've been just it's pretty neat. I mean, they have sort of built-in VR capabilities, so it's like turn it on and make sure your UIs adapt.
Is that the operator chair? All right, cool. Yeah, see how much is that's right.
IoT now. Embedded installers.
Okay. Do we have another? Do we have another? Do we have? What was I asking? Do we have another place where we can input and respond to people?
I can do it off my phone.
You can? Okay, cool.
Yeah, but I'm logged in as I'll just throw it under a company organized.
Okay, yeah. That's
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for coming out tonight. 6:15, and I try each month to try and promptly start so that people aren't waiting around and not having the start time accurate. Few announcements to start. Please grab your chairs if you want to catch these. Welcome everybody online as well. So each month I tend to just talk very quickly about 2 or 3 items that affect our group specifically that have gone on in the news. You guys may have caught a few others that are out there that are impacting us. Of course, in the AR/VR space, there's tons of announcements coming out daily. We're hot space right now. But specific to Windows Holographic, Microsoft bought SimpleGone and announced it this month. SimpleGAN is a 3D data optimization tool. So anybody who's working with the 3D mesh models that you're trying to get to render in a high-performant way on the HoloLens or in VR, SimpleGAN is one of those tools that will do mesh decimation and bring you down to something that looks reasonably close to your original model but doesn't have near as many polygons. The fact that Microsoft picked them up and bought them as part of their creative update endeavor and their HoloLens and mixed reality space is kind of significant. And hopefully we're going to see that as a new tool that will be available along with Visual Studio and the other tools that we use to create apps. Unity announced their Vision VR Summit 2017. It's going to happen May 1st and 2nd, and this is significant to everybody here. It's probably one of the most popular VR AR conferences as of last year. It was the one that HTC Vive decided to hand out free devices to all the attendees. I see a couple thumbs and smiles because some people here probably grabbed a few of those. So this is a conference that you probably want to keep an eye on if you have the time and flexibility to go down to LA on May 1st and 2nd. Good conference to attend. Unity is one of our sponsors, and just so that members know, if by chance you miss their early bird specials, Unity as a great sponsor makes sure that our members can get the early bird pricing right up to the last minute. But I would warn you that you don't want it to sell out because your early bird pricing is not going to do you any good if the conference is already sold out. So just be aware of that. Build 2017 was announced a little while back, but the buzz that's been happening over the last week or so is that RSVP registrations have begun. Doesn't mean much to the average person on the street, but make sure that you're on the mailing list if you want to attend Build. It's in Seattle this year. And all the indications, including this morning's dev broadcast that they gave, indicate that there's probably going to be some Windows holographic content at this year's Build. Along with that, I have a prideful little announcement at the bottom there. WinHUGR surpassed the 100 subscription mark, so we now have a nice, friendly URL that includes WinHUGR in it, as opposed to the nasty cryptic thing that they give you until you get to that level. So that was a little bit of a perk for us this last month. We joined as a media co-sponsor in a Convey UX conference 2017. This is happening later this month. The conference has been very generous, and as a media co-sponsor is not only plugging us as we plug them, but they're also offering all of our members a $300 discount off registration. It's a local Seattle conference, so if you tend on the UX side of the equation, or if you're a dev that wants to learn more about UX, this is a conference you might be interested in. They do have a number of mixed reality and VR sessions that they put into their agenda, so check that out. And without further ado, I'm going to leave the formal introductions to our guest from GeekWire. And he's going to tell you about the folks that you've come to see tonight. And we're going to have a bit of a different format than usual. I also want to stress that one of the legal firms out of Seattle helped bring these gentlemen here. So please be aware the pieces on your seat there are a firm that's very active in our technology space from a legal side of things. So if you're a startup or other things, you might want to check them out. So I'll hand off the mic.
What's up, everybody? I'm Taylor Soper. I'm a reporter with GeekWire. Hopefully everyone's heard of it, but if you haven't, Seattle-based technology news website. We cover everything from Microsoft to Amazon to all the small startups that you haven't even heard of. Super excited to have a discussion with Robert and Shel. They've worked together for more than a decade now, since 2005. They've written 132 years. That sounds about right. They've written a number of books, bestsellers, and this is their latest one, The Fourth Transformation. I think it's got over a 4.5-star review on Amazon, so far so good on the response. Really interesting, and obviously you guys are all interested in the subject as well. So Robert and Shel, why don't you come on up? Yeah. Thanks for being here. So we'll start with some just overview and maybe a couple questions, but I definitely want to open this up to everyone, have a conversation with everyone. So if you ever have a question or want to jump in, just raise your hand, and this will be very much a group discussion rather than us just bantering. But let's talk about the fourth transformation. So what were the first three transformations, and then let's talk about the fourth once we get there.
What a great beginning. I get to speak first. In the beginning were our entirely original first three words of the book. In the beginning, there were mainframes. They were in the bellies of big organization basements. And a few people in the world who were computer scientists and software engineers, they put holes in cards, and that's how they talked with computers. And it worked. The first transformation is when it moved out of the basement and onto the desktop of the knowledge worker, and people could speak to these devices now with words typed in, words like DOS or CPM or other ones. And that changed things a lot. Suddenly professionals could use them at work, then they'd go home and they wouldn't. A few years later, along came a company, oh God, do I have to say it in this room? It's called Apple Computer. They're in California, where it doesn't rain as much, often. And they, in 1984, presented the world with something that you could point and click with a thing called a mouse, and suddenly everybody could use computers. And that was the second transformation. The third transformation, again, comes from Apple, and it was the iPhone. Suddenly, anyone could use digital technology, and they could use it everywhere. And perhaps its biggest contribution so far is it ended boredom. Now comes the fourth transformation, where bigger things than that are going to be ended. Is this microphone working?
Yeah.
Okay. And Robert, you want to pick it up from there?
No, I think you nailed it, that this is the fourth user interface of our lives. And we're seeing many billions of dollars going into the development of mixed reality devices. Yeah, I don't know that we need to go too much into depth in there. We do usually have a slide deck and go through it, but you guys are so knowledgeable that we'll bring in slides when it's appropriate and just have a chat with you, because I think that'll be more useful to everybody.
Yeah, it would be fairly lame to say, this is called HoloLens, and no, we won't go there.
We got a geeky group.
People who have no idea what a HoloLens is.
Well, let's talk about the book, and what you guys did to research and report and traveled around the world and did all that. So tell us about that and what you learned and what that was like.
So for people who don't know my history, I used to work at Microsoft for 3 years, and I interviewed 600 employees from Bill Gates to the janitor there, and that's the kind of thing I do. I go around the world. Like today, I met with several entrepreneurs who are building VR companies, and once in a while I'll see something really cool, right? And I'll put that up on Facebook in live video or a video or something like that. And the first interview I remember was in 2011 when I went to Germany and met with Matteo, and they showed me monsters on the sides of skyscrapers in 2011. And then Apple bought them a few years after that, right? And what are they doing now? We'll see soon, right? And we should talk about Apple at some point. But that's the kind of interview. I've been to Israel and China and all over the world. And Shel comes with me once in a while when we're writing books. But I'm doing the high velocity, seeing a lot of things. And that's where this is our third book together. And the books we write together predict decade-long trends at minimum. I think this is actually a 40-year one. If we could, I won't be shocked if you could go 40 years from now and you're still seeing improvements to something like a glass or a contact lens on your face, because I don't know that everybody's going to go for the brain jacking that'll come sometime in the next 40 years as well.
It's the way we work together. Well, first of all, if it goes 40 years, good luck to you kiddos. I'm the oldest guy in the room. If we get to 10, I'll be happy and I'm done. My grandson, though, who...
Put the glasses on you when you're
wheelchair.
Could you please speak in larger font when you're addressing me? My grandson is 14. He's built 2 computers already. It'll thrill people in this room to let you know that he thinks Apple is for old white guys who don't really know how to code, which, being one, I guess may be true. But there is a cultural thing happening. Millennials are a word that's overworked, and Robert started avoiding it, which may be smart. But behind that, there's somebody we talk about in the book called the Minecraft generation. These are, like my grandson, people who coded before they went to kindergarten. He has friends all over the world. They talk to each other in code. They're not interested in politics or any of the other ugliness that we have to deal with. They're interested in doing cool things together, sharing what they've done with others. When they do something really cool, they put it up on YouTube. You guys know all this. Culturally, this is enormous. Culturally, this changes, as the book says, everything. People will think different. If you're starting a business now, as I know some of you in the room are doing, think about the younger generations and what their expectations are. Think about people who are born after the iPhone came into life, and think about it probably the same way I might have thought of the manual typewriter. Well, I used a manual typewriter, a hand crank in the front of a car. So,
While you're talking about Minecraft, I'll play some Minecraft. Anyways. So, what
That's all right. I'll catch up.
Let's talk more about Minecraft and this younger generation and how that parlays and connects with the transformation. And you mentioned cultural. Is it the way they think about technology? Is it the way they're interacting with it, with their peers? Like, what is it about that generation that really clicks with this transformation?
For me, the kids who think in Minecraft think in 3D, right? And that's a prerequisite for this new world that's coming at us, because we're going to build a SLAM-based map of the world, and everything is going to be laid on top of the world in 3D. You guys know this, right? I mean, we're watching Minecraft, and you can see it's 3D, a set of blocks, and then you start programming the blocks to do things when people interact with the blocks. I think there's another generation coming that's even newer than the Minecraft guys, and I call them VR natives. And another way to look at them is zero instruction set learners. I had a 4-year-old girl come in my house. I have all the VR stuff and then HoloLens in my house, so I'm the cool kid for all the cool parent for all the kids in my neighborhood. And a 4-year-old girl came in my house without any instruction. She'd never seen VR before, but she intuitively just picked up the headset, put it on, and picked up the controllers. And I just sat back and watched this. I actually started filming her at one point on my phone. And she went to town with zero instructions. And that's my expectation now, that this world works like we work in the real world. So a 4-year-old kid knows how to pick up a bottle or a pen or something or a toy. And that's how this new world works. And that you're starting to get a sense of how deeply different their world will be from the world I grew up in.
I'll try not to wax too eloquent on this. The expectation they will have in life will have nothing or extremely little to do with typing. I may use glasses to write a book at some point, but I'll be moving my eyes rather than my fingers, and it'll go faster and it'll be more natural, because eyes are faster than fingers. But masses of people who are now beginning to be educated will start. How many people here had to learn that the Battle of Hastings was in 1066? Okay. Now, those of you with your hands up, how many of you know what the hell happened at the Battle of Hastings? You just knew the answer was B, 1066 on it. Now when you educate kids, they will go to the Battle of Hastings. They will know whoever the players were. They will know where the war happened. They will see ancient Hastings on the coast of southern England. everything you experience. There's already software out where children in classes are touring the White House, for better or worse, Buckingham Palace and other places. They're swimming with fish in the coral reefs, and this is just beginning. In China, where culturally they're ahead of us, they're dealing with the fact that despite their best attempts, they're producing children too fast to produce teachers to teach them. So they're working now with a gamer company, I'm forgetting the name of them, something Dragon, it's a real slash and trash gamer company, but they're creating virtual teachers where every child will wear a headset and they'll see a teacher that's customized to their taste. It may be an old white-haired guy, it may be a young, attractive woman. It'll be somebody they relate to well. And that person will teach that child at the pace of that child rather than the pace of the classroom. And when that child does have their mind wander, that headset will see it in the child's eyes, and that virtual teacher will do a pop quiz. So these are the kinds of things that happen when people walk into shop or shop while walking down the street. Blipper, I forgot their name for a second, has software now. It's still on a phone. But if I like his shoes, well, I like your shoes. I'll go over here. I'll just take a picture of it. If you had a Nike swoosh or a brand there, I would now be able to buy those shoes in my size with my credit card and have it shipped to my home. Well, just all I did was take a shot of those shoes. Everything, I'm coming to my exciting conclusion. Everything that we do now, we will be doing with headsets. And it is happening for people in this room, it seems painfully slowly at times. You're worrying from quarter to quarter. You're trying to start businesses. You're trying to be serving enterprises or consumers. Yeah. I mean, this will be in a museum very shortly. They really did that? How goofy, or whatever the word is in the future day. But it's going to be like this, or smaller, or cooler.
Yeah. In the book, we have iFluence. These are the eye sensors from iFluence that I took a picture of. And Google bought this company, a couple months ago now. And he showed me augmented reality glasses where I used my eyes to look at an object like a water bottle, and it told a menu popped off the water bottle and let me buy it or look up information. And in fact, I have a video of him showing that. Do you guys want to see that?
Yes.
I need audio. You had it working. I don't know why it's not working.
It's coming.
Over here is a medical application, and
All with your eyes.
all with my
Turn
eyes.
it all the way up.
So I'm doing this solely with my eyes as fast as I can look. I'm not waiting. I'm not winking.
Here, let's start it over.
If I want to, I can change pages. Here's another
Yeah.
a close-up of some electronics in our office, and I can go home when I want to. Over here is a medical application, and
It's all with your eyes.
all with my eyes. So I'm doing this solely with my eyes as fast as I can look. I'm not waiting. I'm not winking. I'm just looking. And here I've got the patient. I've got some allergy record, protocols, insurance, confidential information, current conditions. Why is he here? Well, he tells me he's got a pain in his foot. Notice I'm looking at this, but there's nothing happening on the screen. But when I decide, for instance, that I want to check out his x-ray, there it is. And now I want to go back because a couple screens ago there was some confidential information, which is here. And now it's going to take a picture of my eye. It grabs it, says, oh, who is that? Confirms that it's me. And in a moment you'll see that it'll give me access. I'm Jim, head of CEO and founder of iFluence. And there it is. I've got confidential information. When I want to, I can return home as fast as that.
That's amazing.
All with my eyes.
That's amazing. This technology gives you three things. It gives you biometrics because when you put on the glasses, it knows it's on you because your eyes are very unique. Two, it gives you all sorts of new user interface stuff where if I look at something, a menu can pop off of it. And 3, it gives us foveated rendering, which means we can get few more polygons out of the area where your eye is focusing on, and keep the small GPUs that are in these devices from overheating and sucking all of our battery away, right? Which is what happens when you throw too many polygons at this thing.
These guys got blocked by Google.
Yeah, and a similar company just got, the iTribe from Copenhagen got bought by Facebook. So this is what we do. We go around and talk to nerds who are building companies, and once in a while we get lucky finding somebody like this, and it ends up being an important technology to understand when it shows up in products, right?
Every now and then we'll let you ask a question. A little further out, there's a company called MindMaze. They're in Switzerland. They've raised over $1 billion. They're in the games and virtual healthcare area. They use brainwaves, and it's not quite ready for games because the thing comes out to about here. It has a net over the head with 32 sensors on it. And on the health side, which is the part that interests us the most, they're working on curing schizophrenia, treating Parkinson's, ending amputee limb loss trauma, helping stroke victims get healthier faster at lower cost and out of the hospital in half the time. They've only been around a year and a half, and what they have looks like something you might see on Saturday Night Live, but picture what it's going to look like in 10 years. Picture how that's going to change the world.
I have a picture that I want to talk about.
Yeah, you want to talk? We were just talking about this the other day. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So at CES this year, I visited several suites, which is where you see the cool shit, right? I saw PrimeSense 4 years ago, and the founder of PrimeSense showed me a sensor that was about 3 feet off of a table like that, so above the table, aimed it down at the table, and it could tell how hard I was pressing on the table. So think about how little my finger moves on a table like that, and it was doing pressure-sensitive ink. And that was 4 years ago at CES in the suite. This year in the suite, we saw Loomis, which is making these lenses. These have a 720p monitor built into the lens, and the glasses overall are going to be about 4 ounces. So a real lightweight pair of glasses sitting right next to a Snapchat glass, a spectacle, which has no screen in it and is the same thickness. This is what's coming this year. And this was built with $60 million of funding in Israel, the optics were. So what is Carl Zeiss, who's a multi-billion-dollar optic company, building, right? Is that 1080p? Is that better field of view? I don't know. But Apple forced Carl Zeiss to take the optics off the show floor at CES this year because they're coming out with glasses, right?
And Apple bought PrimeSense too, so they've been doing all the shopping for a reason.
Yeah, I want to talk more about the use cases. I think that's the most fun to talk about, what it's going to change, everything really. But let's kind of bring it back to maybe the form factor and why you guys are so bullish about MR, right, mixed reality, versus VR when you're just kind of in it, or AR. I think for the average Joe, it's kind of confusing right now, is because you got Oculus, you've got Google Cardboard, like you got HTC Vive, you got HAL. Like, what's the diff? Like, if you don't follow this scene closely, you kind of like, what's VR? I don't even know what it is. So why are you guys so bullish about? Yeah.
Every time a new technology comes out, it is first driven by geeks who love to create terms that confuse the rest of us. VR, AR, MR, Intel's got its own name for it. A couple of other companies have done it. All of this crap goes away. It becomes glasses. I mean, when they first sold cars, they talked about the principles of torque. I can't even spell the word myself.
And keep in mind, Shel was the guy who named PowerPoint, so he knows something about coming up with weird names for things.
This is a Microsoft-friendly crowd. Usually at this point when Robert says that, I look at the ceiling and say, "Forgive me."
Why are we so bullish on this stuff? For a few reasons. First, let's just talk about VR and forget about the mixed reality stuff. I see people try VR and are unable to walk across a conference room floor that they know is a conference room. They're in VR and there's a plank that they're seeing and it has a drop off underneath it and they're unable to walk across that plank. That tells me that VR is something different than TV or movies. I've never seen anybody unable to walk before when watching a movie. And we've certainly had lots of experiences where we're immersed or we feel emotion or empathy for things that we don't feel when we're watching a flat screen. So that got me excited by VR. I know that the mobile phone industry is seeing such R&D investments across the board. I mean, NVIDIA is spending billions per quarter in R&D. Intel is spending billions. AMD is spending billions. Huawei is spending billions per quarter in R&D. And the R&D is going into cameras and into new things, right? Because there's a war out there over our faces and our hands and our wrists and our TVs and all that. And so I started keying in on what was going on with the investments underneath that are leading to 3D sensors and new operating systems and new things. Like Meta is building a new operating system for this world. Loomis is building lenses. PrimeSense and others are building sensors, etc. So that got me wound up. The reason I think we're going toward this rather than a VR headset for consumers, for mass market, is because my wife gets sick in VR and she doesn't get sick in this, because you're looking through the glass to the real world, and so you don't have the problem of your eyes getting out of sync with your inner ear and making your brain think you're eating poison, which makes you feel sick. Also, I can see a whole bunch of use cases for these things, like going, well, here's a few that we can talk about. Sporting events. You're going to go to a football game and you're going to see your favorite football player running down the field, and you're going to know how fast he's running, because the football teams are putting sensors around all the football. And we have a video, if you want to watch that, about what the kinds of infrastructure that the sporting teams are putting in place in sporting arenas and race tracks and on, right?
Is the fan going to want to put the glasses on? Like, I want to just go there and watch the game. Yeah, I just want to go there and watch the game. I mean, this is me in 2017, but that's why I still feel a little skeptical about this entire thing, is like the phone. Like, am I really going to want to carry my glasses in my pocket and then put it on when I'm at the game? I just want to sit there and watch the game.
Assuming you're ever going to take them off.
So we're going to be wearing these 24/7.
Yeah.
Yeah, or you're, I don't know if you have kids or not, but your kid will. It won't be, besides that, I can give you lots of reasons that don't happen right down there. These glasses will also show you a map to the restroom that has the shortest line to the urinal. It also will let you, probably with your eyes, order your beer and burger before halftime, so it'll be waiting for you in a short line, because you also use them to pay for that. When we say everything, it is these glasses will become ubiquitous to you. You're sitting here in an interview, you're holding a digital thing. It's the center of your digital life. Look around this room. Almost everybody is doing it. This guy's got his arms crossed.
Some people
yeah, but my wife tells me I can't do that, because it usually means I'm saying bullshit. You look friendlier than I do when I do it. So it's always good for me to have a microphone just to stop that. The center of your life is going to move from the handset to the headset. It's a place Robert and I disagree. I usually say over the next 5 or 10 years. Robert is saying June. So
I was first in line for the iPhone, just saying.
Robert, here's actually the dynamic.
I was first in line for Halo, too.
I just wanted to be first in line for the urinal at halftime. You can have all this other stuff. Actually, I'm of the nature, I'm probably an earlier adopter than 95% of the world, but I'll let the Roberts and a lot of the guys in this room, the people in this room, get ahead of me, because if it doesn't work, or if you want to spend top dollar, you guys go first. And I'll read the reviews. I'll follow what Robert tells me in technology. He's almost usually right. I'm the one that kind of steps back and says, yeah, what if? There are things he's not worried about, like privacy, little things like that.
I worry about it, but not that much.
Here's where we come together. Whether he's right or my causes for concern are going to amplify, it's going to happen. It's Arthur Clarke, one of my favorite sci-fi writers, once said, humans are the one, no, he wasn't politically correct. Man is the one creature that must go beyond. And since the cave, that's what we've been doing. We go further with technology for the same reason that the humpback whale takes its 90 tons and leaps out of water, because it can. And we find out what we can do that we haven't done before. Go ahead.
It's happening anyways. In China alone, there's 1,000 VR arcades. Not in America. And China doesn't give a shit about privacy, sorry. And they don't care about regulations as long as the government says it's approved, right?
I have more freedom now than I've ever had.
And they live in really small apartments with only 900. I visited a professor's apartment. He lives in a 900 square foot apartment with 3 other people. And so you do not have a big screen in that apartment. You're going to have personalized viewing devices so you can watch the TV you want to watch, and the guy sitting next to you, or your kid or your wife, is watching something else. And with glasses like this, the reason you're never going to take them off is up here I'm going to have 10 screens all the time. CNN is going to be running up here eventually. Let's take it 10 years from now, right? Just to make it easy.
A period of time.
A period of time. 10 years from now, I'm going to be wearing glasses, and I'm going to have CNN, ABC, NBC up here, and I'm going to have all my Amazon or Azure servers, and my business is going to be running down here, and I'm going to watch Facebook and Twitter and blah, blah, blah.
So just to bring a point home, I will never do that. Never. And if you go to a football game and you don't do that, it still doesn't matter. This is what's going to happen. This is going to be the mainstream. My father would never buy an automatic shift car. He didn't trust them. He wanted the shifts, right? And once I got my license and I proved that I could do it, why would I want to do that again? It's the younger who change things. When we look at a 10-year perspective, as I joked earlier, I'm 72 years old. 10 years from now, I'll be very grateful not to be food for worms, and I'll be even more grateful if I can still remember any of you people. Who are you? But whether you do it or not doesn't matter. There is a tide that cannot be stopped. Now, in this room, there's a lot of people who are entrepreneurs. This is the exciting part. When transformations happen, old companies, big companies, powerful companies sometimes die, or sometimes they just become irrelevant.
Borland and WordPerfect went away when we went to the Macintosh, right, or the GUI. And when we went to the touch on the phone, Nokia and BlackBerry, who were dramatically important companies at the time, Rackspace had only BlackBerries, and within a couple of years, we were only iPhones, right? So when these transformations happen, they really shift the computer industry. I think this is why Microsoft has invested so much money, because they know if they lose the next time around, they're done.
Microsoft, by the way, a very sincere credit, they're one of the few companies in history that appears to be resurrecting itself.
Yeah, let's talk about them, because we're obviously right here. And Robert was saying, we were on the GeekWire podcast earlier, and Robert was saying that Satya's betting the future of the company on HoloLens, which I thought was a little surprising. Why do you think that?
Because he told me it, first of all. And second of all, I was just at GITEX last year, which is a big consumer electronics show in Dubai, and the whole front of the GITEX show was HoloLens. Microsoft is putting its muscle behind getting us to think about computing differently than just Windows, right? That we're now going to be working with something 3D in our midst, and we're going to be wearing glasses of some kind to see this stuff and work with it and design it and develop it, right?
So let's talk about Apple too, because it's interesting to see these big companies and the strategies they're taking, whether it's Facebook and with Oculus or Microsoft, and you have some interesting predictions about Apple that are going to happen here within months. What are they?
Steve Jobs and Tim Cook had a conversation before Steve died about the future of television, and that led into a discussion about augmented reality, and that led into patenting behavior, which goes all the way back to 2011, with a phone that has a 3D sensor that you look through and you can see virtual stuff on the other side of the phone, right? He then went on a buying spree. He's bought, I don't know, 15 companies that do face scanning and 3D sensors and augmented reality and indoor mapping and artificial intelligence. And I've interviewed a good chunk of the CEOs of those companies. And so I heard their vision and why they got bought, right? And soon we're going to see a new headquarters get delivered. In fact, they're already moving into it, and it's the highest tech building in the world. We're soon going to see a new iPad, 3 new iPhones, a new TV box, a new watch, a new 3D map, a new Siri, all in 2 hours. And it's all going to be around this theme of future of television. Because why am I watching a stupid screen, a 60-inch screen in my house that's across the room? Why can't I just grab that screen and make it bigger and put it above me where I want it to be? That'll happen in the glasses, right? We're going to see Apple show off augmented reality. And Tim Cook has been signaling to this to the market since last June. Every week he's in the press talking about augmented reality and why it's more important than VR and why it's a big fucking deal for Apple. I've been on CNBC and I've been in GeekWire and a lot of other places. Has Apple called and told me to shut up? No, because they don't mind me signaling to the market that something big is happening and coming. And we're going to get it. And it's going to be smaller than that, because that's 4 ounces. And I expect the Apple one to be 2 ounces, because they're not going to put any computers in those things, or very few computers. All the computers are going to go in your pocket with Apple. And there's going to be a wireless connection, maybe even a wireless power connection to what's in your pocket to the glasses.
Just fill your iPhone.
Yeah.
So do you think they'll beat Magic Leap to the market?
Yes. And Magic Leap is still important and still will bring something new to the table, and we'll see how good the two are, because I have no idea what the experience is going to be like on Apple. I don't know if it's any good. I mean, even with all the stuff I know and the billions of dollars of investment, more than $10 billion of investment by Tim Cook on this stuff, and probably much more than that, I don't know Magic Leap. I haven't seen that. I won't sign their non-disclosure, and I haven't seen Apple sing. I will say there's a company from Israel that came in to show us artificial intelligence called Yowza, which has 16 engineers. I've been asking teams now how many engineers you have to try to figure out, you know, how did you build this mind-blowing thing, and how many nerds did you have to build it? And they take a 3D image of the room, and they put the AI puts everything into a different object. That's a different object. So that chair is an object. That chair is an object. That chair is an object. The human is an object. The bag is an object. This mic stand and the camera is an object, right? And then it starts doing our AI lookups of all those things, trying to find information like who made that chair. And if you can, if the world is really perfect, it pulls down a CAD file of that chair and overlays it on top of the chair. So now you can manipulate it or get a perfect version of that chair, so you get fewer polygons, right? Because if I can make something really straight with fewer polygons, I can do a lot more of them, right? That was mind-blowing. And it was built with 16 engineers. And after Shel and I saw it, they went to Apple, and Apple didn't buy them. So that tells me Apple has better.
It's your question. Robert and I come apart a little bit here, because I really don't care whether it's Apple or Magic Leap. Magic Leap, I believe Upload VR's recent story that they're going to come out in large niches. Very likely the first one will be healthcare. I don't know when, but all they're doing is filing patents and patents and patents. They're located as isolated in the continental United States.
They're also doing weird things like making a deal with LucasArts, and
Yeah.
they're making a deal with
And they have
Jackson.
Okay.
I'm like, maybe they're thinking storytelling.
Ted Shelowitz said the future's at 20th Century Fox, and I had dinner about a week ago at Sundance, and he has seen Magic Leap several times over his history because he's one of the investors, and he invested in a competitor called ODG as well. And he says it'll be a big deal, and he says don't write them off. He says yes, they had some negative PR. Yes, they did have to change the optics that they wanted to do because they wanted to have six levels of refocusing, where HoloLens only has one, and they're down to 2 now. So it's not as cool as the investors thought it might be, but it's still pretty cool from what I hear. And it'll be something to pay attention to, for sure.
My point is I don't care who wins. What I care about is on the big side, you got Microsoft, Apple, Google, Facebook, and probably Amazon.
And Huawei and LG and Samsung.
I was staying homeboy for a while.
Yeah.
On the local level here, we got, how many of you are entrepreneurs working on VR or AR projects that you want to monetize in this room? Yeah, not bad. Okay, well, the name of the group gives away what platform you're on. But as somebody who's looking at the issue of technology and humanity, I don't care. What I care about is the best minds in the entrepreneurial community are urgently pushing as hard and as fast forward as they can. And I've been around, my first marketing project was the development of the wheel. They fired me, that's why nobody knows who the developer was.
But you didn't do fire.
I had somebody who handled that. Somebody with stones.
Fire was Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
And Apple just stole his employees.
We could keep this going. But the point of it is, there's a lot of shit coming. It's coming very fast.
Yeah.
Brilliant people with lots of money are competing with brilliant people with lots of money. There's a whole generation, my grandson's age, who's built 2 computers. For Christmas he wanted a high-end NVIDIA card. He didn't get it. You're the old guys already. They're going to be so far ahead of you that there's an exponential development. There's an exponential development of humans and technology and the interaction and the development of it. Go ahead.
Let me ask you a weird question.
Yeah.
This kind of hits home.
I'll give you a weird answer.
What I'm kind of thinking about. Okay, since they invented film, nothing has really changed with the language of film. I mean, we're watching movies in the same way. The technology we're using to produce those is, exponentially bigger, CGI, everything else. Television, we're still watching the same way. What gets me excited about this, I got to tell you, is I haven't seen this yet with digital technology, is the idea of immersion storytelling.
Yep.
The idea that I'm not sitting in the audience watching Hamilton, I'm actually going on stage and watching the interactions of characters. What I'm not seeing from technology, and I haven't seen through CD-ROM and all these other things that come along, they're only trying to repurpose content to show in a new thing. So when you say I can watch a 60-inch television in my HoloLens, like, who gives a fuck? I want something new, I want a new language of storytelling. And what's happening here, okay, we're interacting, we're talking with each other, we're socializing. If this were, Breaking Bad, and I was interacting with characters, that's what I've been waiting for. Is that going to happen?
Shell's going to answer you first, and then I just was at Sundance, so I have another.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go to Sundance a whole year ago because, first of all, this stuff is overtaking LA. So we in Silicon Valley are watching creative technology of the next generation moving to where the creators are.
Yeah.
Now, last year at Sundance, this is the part that got into the book. Robert's going to top it, but when it's a text story, I expect him to. They started showing movies. One was done by one of the original developers of Oculus, and it's called Remembering Emily. Emily is a woman who has died, and her daughter is in the attic, and now people with headsets can now go in and walk around Emily and see her, can read over her shoulder and see what she's reading. The person that watches the movie with them goes over and starts fiddling with stuff in a chest in the background. So now we're going to be immersed in the movie, and to quote the poet, the Nobel laureate poet Robert Dylan, you can be in my story if I can be in yours, because he and I are going to go to the theater now. We're going to have different experiences. We're going to see the same people from different perspectives. And afterwards, what are we going to talk about? We're going to argue about who saw a cooler thing, and what did you see that I didn't see, and wow, what did you get out of this and I didn't. So we're entering a situation where we are going to be in the stories that we watch. And whether it's a movie or in the home, don't think it matters as much as it used to unless you want the social experiences.
Yeah. The reason I went to Sundance this year, I wanted to see the difference between this year and next year. And we've been watching the Hollywood industry gear up, and it's not geared up yet. Because why? There's no headsets out in the world, right? How many Oculuses have sold? How many HTC Vives have sold? Very few, 1 million to 5 million. How many Gear VRs have sold? 5 million. How many Google Cardboards have been given out? A few million, 10 million, right? Something like that, and they've mostly gone in the trash. On and on, the Hollywood people say there's just not enough of a market for us to turn up the budgets. So what we're seeing at Sundance is pretty mind-blowing, considering it was built with $100,000 to $1 million, maybe $2 million for a big budget one, right? And we're starting to see movies get longer, experiences in VR get longer. I saw a 40-minute movie called Myobi in the headset. We saw the first mixed reality movie there called Heroes, which was a pair of dancers, pretty pedantic kind of thing, but it showed that there's some cool stuff there, and people who haven't had their head in a HoloLens are blown away twice, one by the technology and one by the story. And we're seeing a lot of those kinds of shorter things. Dear Angelica, yeah, and that's on the Oculus. That was a big premiere at Sundance, and that was one of the things. Chris Milk's thing, where you get born as an egg and proceed through different characters. Like at one point you're a bird and you're flying, and at another point you're a monkey or an ape.
I did that running. In 1968. What's the big deal?
Yeah.
That's a different kind of virtual reality.
All connected.
Yeah.
And anyways, there were a few things that were really, really spectacular, but not enough of them to tell me there's a healthy industry. But even with that, the whole street at Sundance was VR. And people were like, what's all the VR here for? What's going on? The movie industry is shifting because there's new things coming and new ways for film tellers to tell stories. The movies go everywhere from a simple 360 style video. My Brother's Keeper is a good example of this. Two brothers on opposite sides of the Civil War, and it was filmed in 360 on a jaunt camera, and it didn't have very much interactivity, right? You were mostly sitting there and looking around and watching a story unfold, right. All the way up to things where you can use your hands and move around a space. There was a film done by the USC film students called Water Buffalo, I think it was, and that had a holographic image of a woman in a room and and her parent filmed on an 8-eye camera, and it was watery and early times. But I remember when I used to think playing with See You See Me was really cool, and we would get a little tiny video over the internet with 1 frame a second, and now we get 4K video, and my son watches it over and over, and it streams just fine now, right? So Yeah, I agree with you. We're going to see some really mind-blowing new storytelling coming along, but it really will be helped when we have our first 100 millionth headset out there, and we're not there yet. Maybe by the end of the year, but we're not there yet, right?
Yeah, I got a question about development tools for creative content.
Yeah.
What are you seeing in that area? You know, obviously Unity 3D is doing quite a bit.
Yeah.
What's caught my attention lately, at least for the VR stuff, is the real-time web stuff. You know, like
Yeah.
Vue.js, Play Canvas. Is there any equivalent of that for AR?
I haven't seen it yet. I mean, in the VR space, I've seen some teams leaving Pixar to do things that are fun with animation. So tools that you can animate a story just by using your hands and very little coding. Mind Show is another one I saw at Sundance where I can play with my kid and make a story with characters, with my voice. And my movements behind the characters, and it captures that and makes a story or an environment that possibly could be brought back into Unity and changed and made into a bigger environment. It's early days. I haven't seen one that like has me going, oh, that's how everybody's going to do this, right? And mixed reality is too early. How many HoloLenses are out there in the world? Thousands, not even millions yet, right? And so until tool makers get excited by this world, which they will, I think, in the next few months, you still need time and money to build some of these tools that are going to be mind-blowing for all of you to create companies, right? So Unity is it right now, with some exceptions, right?
You're not mentioning anything about AI.
What's that?
You're not mentioning anything about AI.
I just did with Yowza. Did you miss me talking about Yowza? That was all AI.
That's all AI?
That was all AI. When the 3D image sees that as an object, that's AI. And when I am seeing your shirt and it's validating that it's a J. Crew official shirt, that's AI, right? And that what one trend we should watch in this industry is self-driving car teams, and do they transfer over into mixed reality? And they already are. There's a company called Eonite we saw at CES that does inside-out VR tracking from Stanford, and the CTO was on the Stanford self-driving team. Why? Because self-driving is all about AI. You have to have a sensor that sees a stop sign and knows it's a stop sign, and then the computer decides what to do about that stop sign, right? And what is mixed reality glasses? I'm going to look at Shel, and I'm going to look at his shirt, and a menu's going to pop up, and that's going to be AI that does that, right?
It's interesting that you mentioned autonomous cars, and because there you need a lot of interactions between not only yourself and the object that is carrying you, but other objects. How is that playing out?
I just wanted to add to what Robert said, that MR is going, these glasses we're talking about is going to be AI in a very big way. It's going to know me when I wear it. It's going to remember what I've done. It's going to understand my patterns. It's probably going to monitor my health. It's probably going to know all sorts of things about me that get back into the privacy issue. They're going to probably, someone's going to tag them smart glasses, and they are going to be really, really smart. When we AR, VR right now isn't quite AI, but any way you look forward, it is AI. So to us, I guess, I'll give it to you in a second. To us, we've blurred that line because when we look at this stuff, it is AI.
Siri is a good example of this. I had dinner with Tom, who is one of the 3 founders of Siri 3 years ago, and he's still at Apple. And I asked him, what are you learning by building Siri today? And he said, I'm learning that Google's beating me. And I'm like, how do you know that? And he goes, well, we've instrumented Google, and we're watching how fast it learns, and we know how fast we're learning, and they're learning faster. And so we're going to have to rebuild Siri from scratch. And that's what's coming out this year, right? And I can run through the technology because I've seen the back end of Siri. I'm one of the few people who have, and it's hard-coded. For instance, if you ask it how many people are checked in at WinHUGR on Foursquare, Siri understands you just fine, right? It understands your English query. And Foursquare has an answer, and Foursquare has an API, but there's 80 lines of code between you and the Foursquare API, and it hasn't been written, so it fails to Bing and gives you a stupid answer. In the future, that answer will not be hard-coded. Viv, for instance, which is a company that's 2 of the founders of Siri started and then sold to Samsung last year, writes the 80 lines of code as you search, right? So it's much more flexible. And the bottom end can shove all the data to Foursquare even if it doesn't understand what you just said. And at least Foursquare can then parse that text stream or that voice stream and figure out what you were trying to say and write some code or hints to the AI engine to tell it what to do. So we're going to see some amazing new search technology that is far more flexible than what we have today. And all these systems have this problem, right? You ask Alexa a problem that it doesn't understand, it gives you a stupid answer. You ask Cortana a problem it doesn't understand, it gives you a stupid answer. They're all the same underneath, and we're going to see some improvements there. Yeah.
I want to go back to something that Ted said, and I was really using. A lot of things that you're mentioning here is related to software engineering.
Yeah.
But hardware is one element that you mentioned earlier, and hardware takes much more time to develop and is much more difficult.
Yeah.
But yet you're very bullish in terms of the time frame that you mentioned.
I'm bullish because the startups are building it anyways. We're going to get this stuff whether Apple does it good or does it at all, whether Microsoft does it or does it at all, because it's coming from everywhere. There is a war over the next platform, and the next platform is mixed reality.
Adoption explosions almost always start with hardware, almost always. Software is the refinement. Most people don't even realize how their lives are changing as the software gets better, easier, faster, cheaper, blah, 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 blah. There were 50 years of American automobiles before some guy named Ford decided to create something that was cheap enough for everybody to use and put girls and boys together without their parents in the rumble seats of cars, started to put sex into advertising for the first time. Guess what? The country had to catch up by building infrastructure, roads. And that's what happens, you know. One day somebody said, the hell with the propeller, we'll put jets on there, we'll see what happens. So software very rarely creates the revolution. It makes a device better, faster, cheaper, blah, blah, blah. So that's why. And there are so many people with so much, HoloLens. Everybody in this room can probably do a better job than me of criticizing what's wrong with it. But everyone in this room also sees the promise. It's got great promise.
What was the iPhone? The iPhone was software on top of existing hardware.
Sorry to be a pain, but I'm going to ask people that have questions to come up to the mic so the people online can hear as well. Yeah. Because they're not going to get any audio from that. Thanks. Yeah. And I don't want to make Robert repeat it.
Yeah. So I don't know whether to crouch down like this or yeah, there we go. Strike a balance here. Excellent. Thank you. Thanks to our tech here. I really appreciate it. So I was just, as the critiques of the iPhone when it came out, made a big deal that there's no new hardware here, right? So really the iPhone was a software platform on top of existing hardware. And while it's true that hardware is super hard, and having tried to, being a software guy, and I just tried to do some hardware and it's super hard, but once you get hardware out, then you have waves of software improvements. And, the scanning tech that was demoed in the Windows Creative Update announced at the end of October, that demoed, scanning technology on commodity smartphone platform with a standard RGB camera. That was a huge leap forward, and that's all software. So I think that you need the unlocking hardware, and then you'll see waves of improvement with software. So I do think that software is key to this, and algorithms are key.
If I give you these glasses and there's no software, all it is a glass. There's nothing on them, right? The magic is going to be in the software that's going to do the room scale scanning and put images up there and do this AI stuff. And then what else, right?
It started with hardware, and Jobs came along, and he discovered there are things you could do better in software. So you're right, there is a point to that, but if the hardware wasn't there, it's
Software without these glasses doesn't do anything either.
yeah. It's sort of, I'd say, like the horse and carriage, but that gets into yet another car metaphor, and I'm running out of them. It's the other thing that happened with that device was where we focused in our 4 transformations, which is the interface. Instead of typing, you could touch and slide. And this changed how you use the device, where you use the device, and I don't know whether that's software, hardware, the combination of both, or yet another thing, which it is. It's where we come together, and where we're coming together now, to me, is the disappearance of a piece of hardware. That's the screen. When you complained about sitting around, it's, you use a computer, you use a phone, there's me and there's the digital stuff is on the other side of that screen. And now we're all going to be somewhere, and you still got to start with the hardware, because none of that could happen without the hardware.
I have a bit of a cold water question.
Cold water?
Yeah, I'm going to throw some cold water on the AR.
Oh, okay.
You won't be the first.
There's an argument.
You won't be the last.
I've worked at a company, but there's an argument that VR is isolating and AR is, or mixed reality is going to be open for social interactions because it's normal people and you can see through. But I don't know if I've ever been as isolated as I felt when I was in a room with 50 HoloLenses at the same time. Because everyone's looking at their own imaginary worlds, and the only thing you are is in the way of their imaginary world. And so, I think when we imagine that maybe you're looking at someone's face and your UI is telling you their credit score or whatever, that credit score will still be like off to the side a little bit. Otherwise, it's going to be printed like, how much data can you cram on someone's face that you can still look at them and them not catch you looking at other data? There's, the imaginary screens over your head, like, hey, we're having a conversation and I'm looking over your head. Like, that's one of the, like, I think about this stuff all the time. There's a core
I have
challenge
perfectly
there.
great conversations in sports books in Vegas with 300 screens around me, and I'm very distracted, but I'm still paying attention to you, right? And that's how it is. I have 300 screens around you that you can't see right now.
But right now we can look up from our phones for the brief human interactions, but we will not be able to, you'll never know when people are looking at you or looking at you with floppy dog ears, and it creates a lot of challenges and so my argument is that I almost prefer like a pass-through VR version where you expect that you're a big panda in my world, and that's just something where we all have avatars, and even if we're in the same space.
First of all, there's a company here that I visited. God, what's the name of it? Pluto. Thank you. Pluto is putting a social layer on top of VR. So if I'm in Google Earth playing around, I can call up Pluto, and all of a sudden I'm talking to you just like I'm talking to you here. It's pretty damn cool. It's early. It's the integration between the social layer and the Google Earth thing that I'm playing with, or the game I'm playing, isn't there, so I can't share it properly with you. I have to take a screenshot to show you what I'm experiencing, and that'll get fixed. But the promise of this is not to be isolated, but to be able to be social with people in new ways. I mean, hey, would you like to come over here and play some new kind of chess game on the floor? Or new kinds of Dungeon and Dragon, or new kinds of Minecraft, or whatever. Ski jumping coming out of Copenhagen, right? And we can stand here and do that together, whether you're actually physically here or not, right? You can do this from your house, and I can do that from my house. already. I play Rec Room, which is developed here as well, and I play paintball with you and frisbee with you over the internet in a VR isolating experience. Yes, I'm isolated from the people in the room, but actually I'm providing a lot of entertainment to those people in the room. It turns out I've been having lots of VR parties, and the coolest thing is to put a newbie into, you know, some zombie shooting game and have them scream in front of everybody, and it's quite entertaining to watch. You know, and if they're in a zombie shooting game with somebody else, they're being social with that other person, and eventually we're going to get involved too, because right now it's early days. How many people in the world have VR? I talk to rich people every day, 1% at best, right?
You know, every time there's watershed technology, there are predictors of isolation. One of the great thinkers of the 20th century was Alvin Toffler, and Future Shock did create the concept of all of us becoming digitally isolated from humanity. Yet at the same time, now that we have technology that connects us to people all over the world, I go back to the Minecrafters, we're finding entirely new ways of finding people we share something in common with. I like to play chess, but I don't have any friends who like to play chess anymore. They're all geeks like him or something. But now I could play with people all over the world, and I'll go short on you guys know how it works, but I could be looking at this huge set on my living room floor, and when you move over in China somewhere, I'll see it move here, and I can do it back, and we can become good friends in a way that we never could be. 40 years ago, we'd be pen pals if we could find each other. So I think the opportunities to be social now, Zuck said it, this is the most social technology he's ever seen. And I agree, we just haven't begun yet. When cars first came out, they were just for men, and they were in authorized places, and they usually drove alone because it was too perilous to be a navigator. And look at what happened.
We're in Zuck's office, by the way. This is Facebook social.
Do we have audio on this?
Yeah. It's just, hey, give me the
Gimme. It's always gimme.
Back to the sport. It's somebody, you made the point that you don't want to wear it at the sport arena. You're going to see stuff through the glasses that you can't get when you're not wearing the glasses. You're going to be able to sit right next to Bill Gates because there's a Nokia camera in that seat, and you're going to see it from the balcony seats because you can't afford the good seats either, right? So, but you want to experience what it's like to be on court side, so you're going to choose that camera. Or I talked to the founder of 8i at Sundance, and I asked him, how soon is it going to be before I get the Warriors, my favorite basketball team, on my kitchen table in volumetric, where I can walk around the kitchen, the basketball game? And he said 4 years, right? And he's already building a volumetric camera. It might not be any good right now, but it does do volumetric photography with 40 cameras around you, and it's capturing things. So we're going to see a lot of innovation and a lot of new ways, and you're going to be able to see things on top of the sporting people that you just can't see today, and they're spending a lot of money to make that happen. They're putting sensors on every player in the NFL. They're putting sensors around all the football stadiums to make sure to capture those tags that are on the football players. And we're wearing all sorts of other stuff. Think about going to Sears Point and watching a NASCAR race like I did last year. Half the race happens behind a hill that you can't see through. Well, why can't I just be looking there and know Danica Patrick is going on that part of the track and see all of her cameras and all of her sensor readings and be able to see that she's actually a second ahead of the second guy, right?
Yeah,
et cetera, et cetera.
I think that's really cool, but what kind of similar example that kind of weirds me out, or like just is really freaking weird, is we talked about this, is going to like a bar and I'm trying to find a potential girl, you know, that night, and I'm looking at every single person in that bar, and all their information is popping up over their head, and there's a compatibility algorithm that says this is the person that you're most likely to match with. and then knowing everything about everyone in that instant. Like, I don't know, that just seems, and then we talk about privacy, it just seems, as we talk about these challenges of hardware or social, like that seems to be just, I don't know, I can't picture it, but maybe I'm old.
There's, you're sitting, you young people, I'm forgetting, now I forget the name, the Japanese designer who did the video of walking down the street and every square inch of the world is like being in Times Square. The apples are telling you where they were grown and you're having a special deal on this.
Hyper-reality, yeah.
Yeah, it's hyper-reality and it is ugly and it is frightening, and the hope is always that we will have filtering on what we see and what is seen about us. But then again, there was a thought, when television started, David Sarnoff said, we'll give them Death of a Salesman and opera, and we'll bring over Italy's finest orchestra leader and make him the NBC. And around the corner was Bill Paley, and he said, screw that crap, we'll sell them cigarettes and give them I Love Lucy, and guess who won? So I don't know how it's going to come out when everybody's wearing this stuff and marketers get a hold of it. I don't know a lot of happy stories about what happened when there's massive adoption and the marketers get a hold of it, but there's always hope. Oh yeah, this is really sad.
The dystopian AR.
It is dystopian.
Anyway.
Okay, yeah.
Hello, I'm a recent college grad, and one of the things I looked into is because I'm a gamer, I was interested in inputs. And so far we talked about the built-in RGB deep camera and Fitbit style sensors and eye tracking. What other, do you think we're just going to go to those and just refine those to the point that they have hand tracking? Or do you think we're going to have other forms of sensors?
Yes.
Yeah.
At CES, we saw gloves that are better than even the hand trackers because they're on you. That if you have a tracker and you do this, it can't see it, right? In fact, this is one problem with the HoloLens. I have to train people how to do gestures because their impulse is to do this. Yep. To grab things out of the air. Well, the sensor can't see that, so you have to do it this way, or you have to do some way that the sensor can see it, right? So there's all sorts of stuff coming. We're going to have full body sensors. This is why Apple's going to put a Prime Sense sensor on the TV product, right? So you put the TV product aiming at your body. Now you do full body VR, right? At Upload, I just saw a guy bring us a suit that you wear that has 26 sensors in it. I think that's a little extraordinary, right?
Ghostbusters.
Oh yeah. If you go to the Void, right, they have guns that are haptic.
Everyone know what the Void is?
Yeah, so the Void is a company in Salt Lake City that's making theme park experiences with VR. They built the Ghostbuster exhibit experience in Times Square at the Wax Museum, and you pay $40, and you and 7 of your friends get thrown into a room, and everything is virtualized. You have a gun in your hand. You are wearing a suit that when the ghosts go through you, you feel them go through you. It's really weird. And there's all sorts of things in the room, including when you get thrown out onto a scaffold. The scaffold is shaking the way a real scaffold would. And I started feeling like I was falling, and I intuitively grabbed onto the railing. That, keep in mind, I'm in virtual reality, but my brain said, oh, there's a railing there. I grabbed it, and there was a real railing there. Right? So that they had matched the real railing with the virtual railing that I was perceiving. And that also is shaking because it was on the scaffold. And I said, I got to get the hell off this. And so I went, you go into another room, and then the Stay Puft guy starts blowing away the building you're in, and you feel wind on your face because they have a little fan that turns on. And then when you finally do kill the Stay Puft guy with your 7 friends, you smell marshmallows in the air. So they're doing all sorts of stuff to try to mix your senses and go further than just visual representations of things, right? They've really thought it through, trying to fool your mind even more than just VR fools your mind, right?
I guess that makes sense when it comes to that, like when you think of it as replacing a movie or replacing a theme park. But I'm talking about the title of your book, The Fourth Transformation. Thank you.
Here, excuse me.
The fourth transformation. Okay.
Like that kind of thing, where it's ubiquitous. It's like everybody has this, or at least like 50% plus of the population have this. What sensors in that situation do you picture? Just the
Well, first of all, if 30% of us have these glasses on, we're mapping each other and the world out in high detail, and it's being compared to a master map that will be shared with us soon. And it's not just mixed reality glasses. This is where the self-driving car thing comes in. Uber's building this map. Mercedes is building a map. They're going to announce it at South by Southwest. There's a company called Luminar Technologies, which is a startup that you haven't heard of, that's building a really badass version of a 3D map. And these maps have every frickin' thing on the street in the map, right? Every pebble, every piece of paint, every sign, every overpass, everything is in that map. And then a company called DeepScale, which is a new AI company, takes that 3D map and fires the Quanergy LiDARs that are on the front of the car, which are new solid-state LiDARs that can be focused, which is cool. And the DeepScale will look at the map, then look at a few things in the world and say, is there anything new from yesterday or from the last time a car drove down the street, right? If it doesn't find anything new, it can sit back. That NVIDIA card doesn't have to work very hard. But if it finds a kid running across the street, it focuses the LiDARs on him, so it gets more milliseconds, right? Because it can see further than the spinning LiDARs that are on the current cars. And our glasses are going to work the same way, right? We're going to walk around and there's going to be 3 systems that do the exact same thing. A 3D map, an AI engine that compares the real world to the 3D map and looks for new things, and then some sort of LiDAR that's going to sense you, right? That's one. You're going to get gloves. You're going to get things like guns. I saw little $5 chips from Israel being developed for plastic guns, so you can have guns that can be tracked in 3D space and stuff like that.
You're getting off stage and started playing.
Oh, cool.
So I just looked at the whole audience. I just suddenly discovered either the audience suddenly discovered God or there's something else going on.
Anyways, we're eating. The answer is we're going to go on new sensors that are going to be biometric. There's a new sensor that just got talked about in the press. That's a millimeter radar, and it can see through your skin into your artery and tell you whether you have heart disease because of that, and also is your blood pressure and some other things, because it can watch the size of your artery over time, blah, 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 right? So we're going to get lots of weird sensors. I don't know what's going to be the one that gets this community all hot and bothered. Right now, we still are trying to make these little glasses work, right, with the 3D sensor that's going to be tracking the room so that we get inside-out VR and stuff like that.
Thank you very much.
Love your eyewear.
Yeah.
Thank you. Here's my question to you. You called it the fourth transformation. Where are you seeing crossover, not only for human-computer action and data and interaction with one another, but as manufacturing is completely digitized, and the robotics, that fourth revolution, are called the industrial internet? Because entertainment, all of it, gaming, entertainment, is still less than $1 trillion, and you have many, many trillion-dollar industries that are all digitizing, and they want to put that 3D content in front of their consumers. And that's the same reason Autodesk says we're the future of making things. We're not the future of design. We're the future of making things. So CAD and design connected with products, planes, trains, and automobiles is a much bigger market.
Yeah.
I just toured Qualcomm, and in their basement, they have a brand new LEED certified building, right? And they took me in the basement, and everything in the basement, they have dozens or hundreds of pipes. Every
every pump, every sensor there is all turned into Internet of Things, and it is displayable in these glasses. So I'm going to walk around a manufacturing line and know the health of that line just by looking at it. And I'm going to be told how to fix it, right? At Caterpillar, you're already wearing these glasses, and it tells you how to fix $1 million tractor. At Boeing, they have hundreds of HoloLenses, and they're already teaching people how to fix jet engines, among many other things. I talked to one of the guys there just a couple weeks ago, and they're really ramping up the use of augmented reality in manufacturing and in supply chain management and all that, right?
I'm not sure I fully understood the question when we get to trillion-dollar issues. Most of the money being spent on this stuff right now is in very boring aspects of the enterprise. For example, Boeing, which I mentioned earlier. Linemen who are using, what's the name, DACRI headsets, hardhead helmets to do repair work hands-free with the instructions in front of their eyes, saving lives. The logistics at DSL and well, maybe the post office, but they've been thinking about it for over 2 years now. FedEx is probably into this. But Price Waterhouse did a study of 2 DSL fulfillment houses, 2 warehouses. One used what they currently have been using, which is a clipboard with check boxes to find stuff, and the other used artificial reality. They, after 30 days, determined AR was creating, I think it was 17% greater productivity. 17% productivity in the world's logistics, you're talking in the trillions of dollars. So what is happening now in an experiment, this is how the enterprise adopts. They do something simple, something little, something they probably won't fail at, but something that is definitely measurable. And when they see it works, then the word, I'll give it to you. When they see it works, they then try to show they're a thought leader. So they publicize it, they do use studies. And other people look at it and they look at the measurables and they try to do the same thing and how can they get it a little better. So I think $1 trillion is a very loose term, but I see this being zillions and zillions of dollars, which is larger. Go ahead.
I visited a company here in Seattle called Look yesterday, and we've included them in our book. Yeah, 3 O's, Look. And they showed me a project they did for a mining company. So the mining company wanted to show all the citizens around this mine and the politicians and all the stakeholders what this thing would look like if it was reclaimed. And so they created that in HoloLens. And that, when you walk around their conference room, they have a mine on their conference room, all right? And you can walk around it, you can zoom in on it, you can move it around, you can see different pieces of it, you can click a menu and see all sorts of fun stuff, and you can see it in 2D or 3D or whatever. And then you can go through time and see what would it look like in 20 years after that's reclaimed. And they have a artist rendering of what it would look like with the wildlife back and water coming through it, blah, 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 right? That's an example of where today's market is. But I'm focused on consumer, and consumer's way bigger than any of that.
Before we leave the enterprise, though, I bet nobody's ever heard of it. Eni is the world's 6th largest energy company. It's in Italy. It doesn't have a retail brand, so you hear very little about it. They are using, I forgot whether it's virtual, yeah, it is virtual reality, to train workers before they go out into the North Sea to work on, what do you call those things with oil rigs, so that in case of a fire, the trainees will understand what to do before they ever arrive at the oil rig. So there are hundreds of little cases, that's exaggerated. There are dozens of little cases like this that apply to the enterprise. Where we think it's exciting and where it gets into the transformation of humanity is on the consumer side. You want to add? Okay.
Yeah, it does, but to me, there's still a disconnect. But let's use Seattle as an example. I don't know how many startups here who want to approach Boeing. Paul Davies, who you're probably talking to, had the same thing. Like, we're going to take this to Boeing because Boeing isn't identifying itself as a VR AR company. It's a plane company the same way Daimler, Toyota, the robotics company, or even Foxconn, who's using the same technologies. So when we see these VR AR landscapes with the startups, we're missing all of the big companies.
That's interesting because in 1993, the term augmented reality was invented at Boeing. They were using the first augmented reality helmet. To this group?
No, just to me.
It was just to you, yeah. Yeah, stay out of this. Yeah. Robert, how many times have shall we talk about hearing this story already, Robert? They had this new humongously large plane and it needed intricate wires in the wing. It was called the 747, perhaps you've heard of it. And the first augmented reality started so that they could properly wire that wing, because one little mistake among, I don't know, zillions of square inches of wire, one little mistake could cause lives. So Boeing may not call themselves that, but they're the big daddy of the whole movement.
I bring up Sephora here because Sephora has already built augmented reality makeup. It's color corrected, so if you try pink makeup on my face, which doesn't look all that great, but it's color matched to the real physical product. So if I go buy the physical product and try it, it's exactly the same. And that's just one little tiny example of how every industry is going to be touched by this. I'm not saying enterprise isn't important. It's huge, but when we get consumer, we're going to get enterprise too. This is what Microsoft didn't learn, because I worked at Microsoft when I visited the Windows Phone team, and I said, what are you guys doing? And they said, oh, we decided to go enterprise only because that's where the money is. And it turned out they were absolutely wrong. That Apple comes out 2 years later with an iPhone that goes after consumer, and they get all the enterprise because it's a better product. And if you don't go after consumer, and this is a lesson for the HoloLens team members here, if you don't go after consumer and you don't win consumer, you're going to lose the whole fucking thing again.
Thank you.
The costs will come down. The costs will come down with the consumer, and the software will go up with the consumer, and that is what you're going to bring to work. It's called bring your device to work, right? How did we get iPhones into rack space? We brought them to work. We didn't give a shit that they didn't pay for them. I bought my own iPhone and brought it to work, and so did everybody else. And within a few months, the entire company was iPhone. It used to be BlackBerry. And this is what's going to happen again in this industry if Microsoft bets only on enterprise, which I'm hearing it's thinking of doing, or it's considering this, because they know their big ugly thing is not ready for consumers yet. It will be soon.
All those Minecraft customers will be cut off. There's the migration path to Microsoft.
And my kids are just fine in the Roblox too. So.
But to me, Xbox and Minecraft, I know all about things up in the cloud, and don't get me started about how quickly that puts me to sleep. But the Minecrafters and the Xboxers, they're the customers of the future. They're the ones you can track out for 50 years of customers. So, you know, I can remember how the Apple was just a consumer computer. The Mac was just a consumer computer. I had a PR firm at that time, and I was using Dell computers, just because we were doing business with Dell, might have had something to do with it. And then one day, one of my employees brought in a Mac. And next thing I knew, I had better get Macs for my employees or lose them. And not only that, it increased productivity, increased morale, etc. So Microsoft, dear Microsoft, I'm rooting for you. Don't screw up the consumer part of it again.
So we've got a question for you guys from online here, from Mike Pell.
Hello, online.
He just wanted to know, what are HoloLens developers missing about where to focus our efforts?
I think we should ask you guys that one.
Right now you're in survival mode because there's no headsets, and you got to dream about a world where there will be headsets, and you have to guess right at when the headsets that you're aiming at are going to show up. So if Microsoft doesn't go for a consumer and Apple does, and you want to build a movie company, you're on the wrong platform. That's one thing. Two, you're going to have to deal with a rapidly changing set of underlying technologies. Right now they draw polygons on everything, right? In 5 years, they're going to be drawing voxels or volumetric pixels on everything. And you have to be prepared to change your code base to that, right? Someday that's going to happen. Someday you're going to have eye sensors, so you're going to have to start thinking about that today. You're going to have to dream a little bit about a world that would use an eye sensor on maybe my watch, right? Which will have my Microsoft calendar right here, and my eyes will work with that display surface. It's not here today, so we can't really code that, but I would at least start thinking about my glasses someday soon are going to have eye sensors. I would start thinking about today bandwidth is really constrained, and there's lots of constraints on these systems, right? The number of polygons you can draw is constrained. So Chris Milk talked to me at depth about this. His characters have very few polygons. They're very abstract. They're not trying to get close to reality. They're lots of fun to play with, but when you see his tadpole, it's an abstract tadpole, or his wings on your arms are an abstract wing. It's very few polygons, so that the systems that he tries to deliver this to won't melt down, right? So that's something you have to worry about. You have to worry about getting marketing and figuring out how to find the other HoloLens users in the world, which maybe there's only a few thousand right now, but soon there'll be more. How do you build marketing on that? How do you build a business? How do you get funded? How do you get funded for something that has no headsets for it? Talk to the guy who started Altspace VR. He has a good story about that, right? Because he got funded right after Mark Zuckerberg bought Oculus, and there was no headsets. So he was able to communicate to investors his dream of building something that's coming. And we all know most of this industry is coming. It hasn't happened yet, right?
We're starting to compete with the pizza, and we won't have time to sell you any books if we keep going. So the last question is right here. Especially the part about we won't be able to sell you books in that corner for $25 from PayPal or cash. Go ahead.
Fantastic. Thank you guys for speaking.
Thank you.
So I've heard a lot of you guys. You guys spoke a lot about augmented reality and the upcoming technologies. I work for an AR company. I work for Epson. We make the Moverio smart glasses. But to this day, my most amazing AR experience, or as Michael Abrash called it at Oculus Connect, augmented virtual reality experience, was with the Vervana Totem headset, which has the dial on the side where you dial it in and goes full AR, dial it back goes full VR. And that was a fully opaque headset. You guys have been talking about transparent headsets, and I would like to know where you lie on fully opaque mixed reality or augmented virtual reality headsets.
Yeah. Sure, Robert. Would you like the microphone?
The optics people I'm talking to say that within 3 years we're going to have optics that do that turn opaque as well as clear. Right, sort of like a 787 window. You can click a button and all of a sudden it's opaque, and you click another button and all of a sudden it's clear. And that backing will enable a whole bunch of new things. I don't know that that's going to be true in the next year. I don't know enough about the OLED screens and how good they're going to be on a phone. I believe that they will have this backing on the phone, but I might be wrong. I don't have confirmation of that yet. And same thing with glasses of various types. We're going to see different kinds of technologies come along. I don't know which ones are going to have backing, which ones aren't. But the optics people are thinking about it hardcore because that's one of the obvious use cases is, hey, sometimes I want to be in a black box watching a movie. I don't want to see anything. So turn me black and let me just be in that movie or in that experience. And other times I want to see Pokemon rolling around this floor, right?
Well, that's the fourth transformation. Whether it happens, we'll find out. But you should read the book, and it's really good stuff. Obviously, a lot of fun to think about. So, Shel and Robert, thanks for being here, and thanks for you guys for coming.
before you crowd them out, I've got a couple housekeeping items to just take care of. So first off, I want to, as I do each month, stress that if you haven't gone to it yet, you should check out the member discount page. A number of our sponsors provide discounts on publications, on videos, training videos, conferences. For instance, if you want that 300 discount on Convey UX, that's the place to go find the discount code. So check that out. It's a member-only page on our WinHUGR meetup site. Big thank you to all the sponsors that help make these meetings happen each month. Special call out to Perkins Coie. Did I say that right? They not only helped bring Robert and Shel here, they also provided the refreshments in the beer and wine category, which is a first for us tonight. So please enjoy that and think about all your legal needs while you're putting back the beers. And
because of the beer.
True.
Not that kind of legal team.
Yeah, they do not handle DUIs from what I hear. Convey UX not only is providing you a discount, they're also providing the first door prize that we're going to give away tonight. It's a $25 Amazon discount card. So I'm going to ask Robert, if you guys all want to pull out the little ticket stubs that you got on the way into the door, hold your pizza in one hand and your ticket in the other there.
Pay me the $20.
We'll hold it higher so you can't read the numbers. The first winner of the Amazon gift card...
It ends in 6862.
6862? I didn't...
6862.
6862 should do the trick. We just need the last four. Oh, there we go. And we're going to ask everybody that won a prize to come up and just fill out a form here so that we know who you are, so that we can tweet and share that with the world and the sponsors, get some visibility out of that. So please print legibly. Please also put down your Twitter handle. It's important to us. I'm going to ask Chris to pull the next winner, and the next winner is going to get one of the ebooks from Manning. Manning provided us 2 ebooks. Unity in Action is one of their titles. It's a suggestion, but if you want anything else out of their catalog, you can substitute that out for whatever they've got. So the winner of the first ebook is 6841. 6841. Since people are juggling beers, pizza, and tickets, I'll give you an extra minute to claim 6841. Going once. Going twice. Chris, don't run away. I'm going to get you to pull another number here. Chris believes this is the lucky one, 6875. Who's got 6875 in their pocket? Pull it out if you got it. Come on, folks. Check out these numbers. This will go faster, and I'll get off this, and you can go bug Shel and Shy more, or Shel and Robert more. 6875. Seriously? Come on. Third one lucky. All right. The new draw number is 6892. 6892. This is what happens when you let people go get pizza first before doing the draws. 6892, folks. Come on, I know it's in the room. We should also kill the live stream now, because the people at home don't need to hear this. Clay? All right, 6892 is dead. We're running out of tickets now, folks. 6847. There we go. Good. So that was one of the Manning books. Unity Action's the suggestion. We'll get you to fill that out there and pull the next winner. Here, I'll get you to pull the next winner before you get too heavily into that. No problem. And let's hope this goes faster. 6832. 6832. I see somebody running over. Great. Sean. Sean won the second Unity in Action. That was Manning. Pearson provided us. So we have a copy of Augmented Reality from Pearson. Sean's going to draw a number for us. And 6878. 6878. Come on, chatty people in the pizza area. 6878. Do you got the ticket? 6878. 6878. Going once. Going twice. Sean, please pull another number. New number, 6873. 6873. You guys are really making this painful on me here. It's a little ticket in your pocket. I really wish you'd pull it out. 6873. Okay, I won't bother getting sponsors anymore. You guys don't seem to care about door prizes. Next number, 6844. 6844. Seriously? Maybe it's the beer.
The pizza and the beer.
6904. New number, 6904. Hey, we've got somebody holding up their hand. That's a good sign. Yes. So that was the winner of Pearson's Augmented Reality. I'm going to get you to draw a number. And thank you. And the next one is Wiley's book. I believe it's an Autodesk book. Let me just grab that. And I'll get you to just fill that out so we know who it was. So 3ds Max. Some of you guys modeling out there, probably 3ds Max 2016. The number is 6850. I got a hand in there. This is going much smoother now. Thank you. And last month we were snowed out because the author of the first HoloLens book, Developing HoloLens Apps Now from A-Press, didn't make it. He'll be here next month, so come check us out for that. And the next door prize, tell you what, I'll trust you. Next door prize is a copy of his book, and it's 6838. 6838. Looking for hands in the air. Does anybody have a hand? 6838. Come on. 6838. Going once, going twice, and I'll ask for a new number. Sorry to bother you. Can I get you to... All right, the lucky number is 6836. Yay, good, thank you. This is your book. We'll get you to fill in there, but I'll get you to draw a lucky number. Now, the grand prize, and I encourage everybody to look at your ticket for this one. This is a Leap motion sensor. This is hardware, folks. Comes with a cable, Leap motion sensor, checks out your hand movements. Leap provides us one of these each month. I'm going to get our HoloLens app. Yutaka, could you please pull me a number? Thank you. Thank you. Oh, he's confident. This is going to be a good one. 6890 for the Leap motion sensor. There we go, right off the bat. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. I'll see you next month. And enjoy the pizza, enjoy the beer and wine, and please come check out the book signing going on at the back. If you want to chat and ask more questions from Robert and Shel, buy one of the books. I'm sure they'll have lots of time to talk to you. Thank you.
I guess they do not have demos here. Oh my god, yeah. I think it is. 8 o'clock.
devices here.
I've never tried one. I'd love to.
Well, we have to fix it. Yeah. All right. You're very welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's weird because like sometimes if I did something and it's easy when you're actually my demos here we speed stuff up. Obviously, but yeah, it was super.
Normally I do it. There are a few things that I wouldn't mind starting to take down. So this device has a custom version of Origami, which the custom version has a return time which you turn it on, you get stuff on the sewers. So that's the best app. That was just one right there. One is all about the and then the hollow dinosaur is cool because it takes you into VR. So